We'll now move on very smartly to the next section, which is about investment readiness. Paul has also been a business angel as well, so he didn't like the analogy, but he's both a poacher and a gamekeeper. He was actually an original investor in Betfair, which, as you may be aware, is now a very large company indeed. His company, BullionVault, has now got 25,000 registered users from 70 countries and a turnover of almost $100 million.
Hello everyone. I'm Paul Tustain, founded BullionVault. Let me explain a little bit about how the gold market used to work. Up in the corner there, we've got top left-hand corner, we've got a factory which is representing a refinery. The refinery produces what are called good delivery bars. They're about that sort of size. They weigh about 12.5 kilos and they cost about $300,000 each. Those good delivery bars are shipped into accredited vaults and they stay there for their entire lives. Now when you do a spot trade, you have to deliver good delivery bars to the buyer. So if you haven't got high integrity vaulting and bars that have been in the vaults all their lives, you can't participate in the spot market. So if you look on the right hand side, you'll see that the refiners of bullion very kindly make some small bars, which are about 1 kilo each typically. They cost about £12,000 each at the moment, just about within the range of your average private investor. But the problem with those is that they don't have the integrity. You can't trade them on the spot market. And so when you deal them, you'll find that there's a premium when you buy them, probably of 2 or 3%. And there's a discount when you sell them, probably of 2, probably, in fact, a bit more than that. So your cost of dealing goes up from what in the professional markets would be about 0.4% to about something like 6% when you deal in low integrity bullion. What BullionVault does, it's like many businesses, it uses the internet to reach its market, but fundamentally what we do is we provide a bridge into the professional market and the professional market costs for the private investor. We really do reduce the cost, so instead of being about 6%, you can get it all the way down to a little under 1%. We can reduce the entry level, so it's not even a kilo bar now. We can take it all the way down to $1,000 or $2,000. And we greatly improve the safety for the private investor because we give them access to professional vaulting in Zurich, in Switzerland. And the attraction of that is, as much as anything, lots of people want to own things in Zurich. But if you open a bank account in Switzerland, it'll cost you something like 2.5%. With a $500,000 minimum start. So something like 0.5% with a $500,000 start. So it's about $2,500 just to have a Swiss bank account. But if you store bullion in Zurich, you'll actually start storing your wealth there for about $48 a year. So it's a huge reduction in the entry level of storing wealth in Switzerland. Just to tell you where we are now. We've been around for 2.5 years. We've got 25,000 registered users from 70 countries, which Will said. $90 million in sales this year, and we now have more gold in our vaults than the Central Bank of Canada. In fact, we have more gold in our vaults than half the central banks of the world. I think we are on target, broadly, to be the world's retail market in high integrity bullion. And that, if you like, is our high upside. That's one of the things that I was aiming for. What have I learned in the process? The first thing is to reapply clever business models wherever you can. I think there are 2 business models in what we did at BullionVault. The first was Crest, which I'm sure many of you know is the settlement system for UK bonds and equities. The great thing about Crest is it immobilized assets from all over the country and indeed the world so that they could be shifted from buyer to seller without there actually being a physical movement of paper. That's made a fabulous difference to how London securities markets operate. A second model we borrowed from was Betfair. That's an internet-based exchange. We're doing the same thing. We have an internet-based exchange in gold bullion rather than in horse racing bets. Plan some quality revenue. Venture capitalists said to me from the word go, you must have quality revenue streams in what you do. fact, we already knew that we were going to be charging our customers to store their bullion, but our charge rate for storing bullion is 0.12% per annum, which is still less than 1% after 8 years. But it's built in, and it gives us just a tiny little bit of cash I shouldn't say it's a tiny little bit of the investor's cash every month. The greatest currency for an entrepreneur, I don't think, is cash. It's when your customers say the nicest things about you. And my customers are always, because we're doing something new that they've perhaps been trying to do for years and haven't been able to, we get a fantastic number of thank you letters. That's just a sample of them. And I'm going to finish because I know I'm not allowed to sell, but I can't resist it because I've got 100 people in front of me. That cube, that represents all the gold that's ever been produced in the world. That's 150,000 tons, and it isn't enough to cover a tennis court. By contrast, dollar debt, if it was all printed out into dollar bills, would produce a road that would be a metre high, 5 metres wide, and it would go all the way across this room, out all the way across the Atlantic, around the Pacific, and all the way around the world. So there's an awful lot more currency about than there ever is gold. And the pitch is that you can all have your free gram of this gold. In fact, so can all your customers can have a free gram of that cube of gold simply by going to BullionVault.com and registering the site, because we give you a gram of gold vaulted in Zurich just for registering. So that's my pitch anyway. Thanks very much.